right, good afternoon. Welcome to the Luncheon with Superintendent Brewer. My name is Jenny Wilson, and I will be your moderator for the Port Angeles School District Luncheon Chat with Superintendent Brewer. This virtual luncheon is being presented remotely via Zoom for all attendees and is recorded. If you wish to share comments or ask questions, please use the Q&A button located at the bottom of the Zoom conference window. Submit your name and please wait to be called upon. When it is your turn to speak, your name will be called and your mic will be enabled. If you do not have a mic, please submit your questions or comments in the chat and I can read them for you. And now to Superintendent Brewer.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. I appreciate you coming back out this afternoon and spending some time with me and Representative or Assistant Superintendent Michelle Olson. I want to start today with where I ended off last week. I can't repeat this enough, and I'm going to make it really quick today because Michelle is our special guest. But if you don't have a copy of the COVID-19 requirements for summer and fall learning, Jenny will put this in the chat and/or email it to you. It's a great guide to read yourself, around what the requirements are for returning to summer programs and next fall. It's all subject to change, and that's what's identified here in the very first document. It is likely this document will be updated over the summer prior to the start of the school year. So I anticipate those changes to become less restrictive rather than more restrictive, meaning less mediation strategies rather than more based on where we are with our COVID response. Down here at the bottom of the first page, we do have in this document mandatory mitigation measures, which include face coverings, ventilation, cleaning and disinfecting, responding to cases of COVID-19, and meeting the requirements or reporting requirements. The recommended mitigation strategy of physical distancing includes 3 feet in the classroom and 6 feet everywhere else. That should not eliminate a school district's ability to return to school full time. So again, the last couple of weeks, I've gone through this document in pretty thorough fashion, and we will send this to you if you're new to us this week. And if you have any questions in the upcoming weeks, I'd be more than happy to address those questions. But I'm really excited to announce last night, our board took action, and it looks like we do have one board member in the room. Dr. Sandy Long is with us today. Thank you, Sandy, for coming out. But our board did take action and approve the Port Angeles reopening plan, which puts the wheels in motion for return to school 5 days a week, full time. So I can't say that enough. Once again, we are returning to school full time next fall, welcoming back all of our students and get back into a more normal routine. So with that, the timing could not be more perfect because today I have Michelle Olson, which is the Assistant Superintendent and her of Teaching and Learning. And so she's going to speak to us about some of the components of the plan and also some summer opportunities. So without further ado, Michelle, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thanks, Marty. And welcome everybody. As I look at who's here today, lots of familiar faces. So good to see everybody. So there is a ton to talk about as far as teaching and learning. And I think before I get into more of the details, just to really start off with appreciations and some celebrations. Having kids back every day, especially at the elementary, has been a game changer. We are looking at our data that we had just before spring break for students, especially in the area of reading. And now as we're doing kind of the end of year assessment, there's some incredible growth. To have students here every day and know that we can focus with them. We were most concerned about our first graders this year, given that kindergarten was for the most part remote, and then we had the beginning of the year. We're seeing some of our students just in these last 7 weeks move up anywhere from like 4 to 6 levels within their reading, and that's great. And we know they have those skills, and so giving them the time, giving them the opportunity to show what they know, it's just exciting. So we're feeling like we are able to get many of our students even further in their reading and certainly their math as we go. And that's been a team effort. I mean, the teachers love having kids back and seeing them and connecting and not having to do both remote and brick and mortar. And that speaks as well to the partnership that we've had with parents. You know, parents have been right there with us in the trenches trying to figure it out, and again, supporting their students throughout these different models. And so again, just to start with some of those appreciations. So I have quite a few things, but I will just be sure that I'm going to be about 15 minutes, and then we'll leave lots of time for your questions. So first off, if we start with looking, talking a little bit about the plan that the school board approved last night, that will be posted on our website. It's a pretty lengthy document, but the bottom line with the document really is that we had the opportunity to look at all of our data district-wide by schools. Each school had a team that used an equity tool to really disaggregate the data across grade levels, subject levels, different student groups, to see where our strengths were and our challenges, like as of right now, real time. And then from that, what are our needs? And then how do we go about getting at that? Because a lot of that is, right, that learning loss. And so how do we prepare systems? How do we provide professional development for our teachers so that when students come back in the fall and families, that we're able to have a plan ready to go and to be able to accelerate that learning so that the learning loss, right, that we can close that gap. And so that's the majority of the plan, is getting after those components. We talk about student well-being, so both the social, emotional, and the mental health. We look at how are we getting input from students and from families. What are they saying the needs are? How will we provide that professional learning for our teachers and for our staff? And then that whole piece about just learning recovery and acceleration, like being able to quickly identify those gaps, provide that support, and get students moving and on track with their grade level. What assessments are we going to use to do that? And then also, how are we going to continue to access and work with our community partners? So whether that's, you know, the YMCA, or that is the Lower Elwha Calm Tribe, or Boys and Girls Club. So when you look at the plan, and again, I'm not going to go through all of it now, but it does break it up into those components. And behind this plan, each building has used the equity access or equity tool to call out by school where they need to focus. And in some reports that the schools turn in, they've actually gone down to the student level, where we might have even initials, which is why I don't have it on the website. So schools are getting after it, and they're knowing which, you know, who are those 2 or 3 students in second grade that really struggled, and what are we going to do for them in the fall. So again, the what's posted there is like our foundation that we'll move into for the fall. And as far as other pieces that will be in there, we certainly talk about our summer learning opportunities, and to speak to those a little bit more. It looks different at every level. So if I start at elementary, in the past years, we've done like a centralized summer school learning opportunity, like at Jefferson, and all the kids have come there. This year, we really are being intentional with having our summer learning be at every elementary school. We want to build on those relationships and really give a jump start to the school year. So for elementary, between August 9th and August 20th, from 9 to 12 in the mornings, teachers and schools are inviting students who, again, from looking at our data, that we see need support to really hit the ground running in the fall. So they'll be doing invites to those students and families. And again, we really are jump starting it. So when we have second graders, they're going to be working with third grade teachers. So they're coming in more prepared for those first days of school. For middle school, you'll be able next week, I believe on Tuesday, to go online to the middle school website. And it's open registration for any 7th or 8th grader that is interested. And that will also be from August 9th to the 20th. And their focus is going to be a combination. Again, what are some of those student skills, study skills, organizational skills that we want our middle schools to have, students to have, and then putting in, yes, some math and some ELA, but also some of those classes that we know students are excited about, like robotics or coding or those kinds of things. For the high school, the summer learning takes place here in June at the end of the school year. So that goes from June 21st until July 16th. And that will take place and be hosted at Lincoln High School. But that's for all of our students, whether they were at Seaview, Lincoln, or Port Angeles High School. If they're needing to do some credit recovery or finish up some classes, we're going to have lots of people and supports there at Lincoln to help with that piece. And then AmeriCorps in the afternoon for that high school group is going to be providing some enrichment learning and different field trips and things to support our students. So summer is a great time for that. And again, more information on our websites, and you can certainly call any of the schools for information. That brings me to kindergarten. So we are looking at recruiting, continuing to enroll our kindergarten students. So if you know families, that are maybe hesitant, they're not sure what to expect, we do want to get the word out that, we are coming back 5 days a week with our typical schedule. So all day, and at the elementaries, right, that could be, 8 to 2. And again, like at middle school, 8:20 to 3:05. We are getting back to the full schedule. And for kindergarten, it's such an important time for them. And we'll have family conferences at the beginning of the year and just encourage families to enroll if they can before the end of June, so that we can really be prepared to meet the student numbers and needs when we come back in the fall. And finally, I want to talk about our transitional kindergarten program. You might remember 2 years ago, I guess it was, out at Dry Creek, we had the opportunity to start a pilot for that program. And we only got to do it for a few months, but it was really powerful in being able to see how we could support students to be ready for kindergarten. And so we have the ability to have transitional kindergarten at 4 of our 5 elementaries. And the transitional kindergarten is really focused on, it's a program for students who are not having access to early learning experiences, which might be preschool or Head Start. We're looking for students who, of course, we want them to be 4. So they have to be 4 by August 31st. And then we're looking for as well, we know there are parents out there that have some concerns about their children and whether those needs are cognitive or social, emotional, or communication. We want to have those families fill out the application and go through that process with us to be part of that program. And so we've extended our application date. So we'll be taking applications through the end of June. We have 48 spots to fill, and at each school that looks like a classroom of 12 students with a certificated teacher and also a paraeducator. So those students, when they come in, some of them are very young, like they just turned 4, so they're kind of on the toddler side a little bit. But then we have those kiddos who, are approaching 5. And it is just an amazing program. It allows us to get early intervention, help our students be ready for a strong start in kindergarten. And not every district is doing this, but again, for Port Angeles, we're often on the leading edge of doing all we can to support our students and families. So I just encourage you to get the word out about transitional kindergarten. And that takes me to, I think, 12:15. So Marty, I'll turn it back to you. Marty, you're muted.
Thank you. The Zoom, the Zoom learning curve. I do want to follow up with transitional K and also kindergarten. If you're a new parent considering, returning your child to our district or bringing your child to our district for the first time, and you have concerns over, the COVID potential exposure within schools, we have proven this year in our school system that we can carry out the work and avoid community transmission within our schools. When COVID is in the community, it will obviously enter into our building at some point in time by way of a student and or a staff member. But our measures, our mitigation strategies that we've used, we've had no case that has been proved this year that an individual brought that into our school and gave it to somebody else. So we're pretty proud of that. And if you're nervous about, potential interactions and returning your child to school, we'd be more than happy to talk to you in great detail about our strategies, how we've implemented those, and our consistency that, in expectation around those mitigation strategies that have really done a fascinating thing for us, and that is avoid transmission within our schools. Jenny had pulled up the reopening plan, and I saw the dial. I think many of you have seen the dial before, and to see that dial turned to 3.0 back to brick and mortar learning is a pretty exciting time. So again, we are coming back to school 5 days a week, full time for next year. So with that being said, we now have upwards of nearly 45 minutes to engage in whatever you would like to talk about today. So Jenny.
Okay, I have a question from Amanda Sanders, and she wanted me to ask it. Was the student equity tool applied for CU students as well?
Yes, we use it for all of our buildings.
And I did put the link in the chat, so.
Thank you.
There are no new questions at this time. Michelle, you did such a great job. Nobody has any questions.
Michelle, while we're waiting for a question, do you have any, you have lots of information from the reopening plan. Do you have a short story around any additional information you'd like to share while we're waiting for a question?
Yes, I can do that. So the piece with our plan, as you look at it, and you compare it to our previous plans, we really have continued that focus on our guiding principles. And it seems like forever ago that we started with these, but this is what we've done and committed to. And so our focus on students, right, at the center, like what do they need and what's best for them. Leading with care and compassion. This has been a really hard time for everyone. And so making sure that we're coming at every situation or conversation with that compassion piece. And then 2, we are growing and learning in our understanding around equitable practices and equity. And really what we're also learning is that it's about equity in action. Like, what are the actions that we are going to be doing to ensure that that happens? Not just saying it, not just having something written. And so that's where I'm excited for the plan, because we get into, that's exactly what we do with the tool, is we identify where those gaps are. And then we start to look at why. What are we doing that could be perpetuating that? What do we stop doing? What more information might we need to do this better? So it's really a more of a focused conversation than we've ever had around looking at equity in action in our schools. Again, we're always wanting to make sure that we've created the best and most healthy and safe learning conditions. And as Marty said, yeah, we have so many different strategies in place, and teachers and parents been working to help us with that. But that's made a difference for the access for our students for their in-learning building time. And, you know, as we come back for our instruction, we anticipate, and we got a lot of good information from the survey for parents and from staff, the value of those family conferences at the beginning of the year. So we talk about that, and that's going to be a focus for us, that piece of getting to know a student and their family right off the bat, and establishing that relationship and communication before we even start. And so we know that made a huge difference last year, and we are going to continue that. We are also looking at how we might use that, you know, mid-year for the same purpose, right? How are things going? What do we need to focus on for the last part of the year? But overall, just that goal of improving our communication with families and really listening intentionally to what do parents, what are they needing, and really the student voice. Our students, like, they get it, and sometimes even better than adults, to be honest. But they know and see things, and most often, right, they're not afraid to say that. And so we are working on setting up opportunities for student voice across all of our schools. Like, how do we hear them, and not just say, you know, check a box that, oh, we've invited them to a meeting, but really given them an opportunity to share and then be part of the process for, well, then what do we do about it? And how can you help? Like, we want everyone to have an opportunity to do that. So this plan kind of, you know, kicks off that work. And yeah, so I could stop with that story.
Yeah, and Michelle referenced a little bit about equity. Unfortunately, just about everything we talk about in life now gets politicized into, you know, something that maybe it's not intended to be. Educational equity is really simple. You know, most of us went to a school system, depending on your age, where students were treated with equality, meaning every student got the same thing. We were all taught at exactly the same time, the same place, and you know, the same interventions or the same enrichments. Educational equality is really about what we're looking to do with the plans that Michelle has referenced around knowing every child. What are the strengths and the areas of growth for each individual child? And you know, we are all in with regards to knowing every child and what he or she needs to do well within our systems. And that doesn't get portrayed to be equality, because, you know, simply put, if you're a student that has a disability, you need additional interventions to learn a concept potentially. If you're a student that comes from, you know, a family that has moved often, you know, you're going to need a different set of interventions, you know, to help recover maybe some of those strategies, because the research is really clear. Every time you move to a new school, there's anywhere from a 3 to 6 month regression on student learning. So, educational equality for our school district is knowing every student and what he or she needs to be successful within our system. And that's our commitment moving forward. And we're really excited to be able to, you know, dig all into that concept and do our very best for each of your children. So, Jenny, we have a question.
Yeah, I have one from Sasha, and she said, I'm assuming the kids will be wearing masks from 7 something to 1 something. Will they be able to take masks off during the time at school?
Yeah, so right now, based on the guidance that Jenny put in the chat, so that you do have a copy of that document today. And again, I referenced that the document does call out that there may be changes, and there likely will be changes over the summer. But where we are at today, face coverings continue to be a mandatory mitigation strategy. I can report this year that most, if not, all of our students have handled that very, very well. We do have mask breaks. We don't require students to wear their mask outside. We're following the science there. Dr. Barry is very good about following the science and working with our district on that concept. And it's becoming more and more obvious that outdoor interactions are not nearly as or outdoor interactions are there's a difference between an outdoor interaction and an indoor interaction based on air circulation. So right now, today, yes, the face coverings will be mandatory for staff and students. But the report is our students and our staff have done really well with that this year. There will be breaks, recess, no mask moving forward. And I think our teachers have done a really good job as well. Sometimes, depending on the developmental age, for a break to just, when it's a nice day, walk outside, let's take a walk together. So, we're very understanding with regards to that and the developmental appropriateness of mask wearing. So thank you for the question. Jenny, additional questions?
Yeah, I opened the mic for Danya Allward to ask a question.
Hi, good afternoon. Quick question, really not related to COVID, but more regarding the school board election coming up this fall. Will there be an opportunity to have a Q&A with the candidates, either in person or via Zoom?
Great question. Yeah, there are opportunities. There's a number of groups out there, and I hope I get this right, but there's a number of groups that do allow for, or they do have a kind of a debate setup. I know PABA does sets up debates. I know that I'm drawing a blank. Jenny, can you help me? What's the Michelle or Jenny, help me out. There's the they hosted the debate for our school district levy. The name is blanking me
Chamber
right
or
no, but I'm sorry, Danya, I will rather than just give you what I remember, let me do some work on that this week. And next week, if you come back, I will share who I anticipate or who we anticipate holding community forums for candidates to share their vision for being a school board member. I want to get it right, and I will do my due diligence next week and find out those groups that will host opportunities for that event to take place.
Thank you.
And the group that I know will do it, that hosted the community or the levy, was the League of Women Voters. They typically do a community forum of that nature. So, but again, I will bring back a list of potential options for the community to, tune in to forums. Additional questions, Jenny?
that's all we have right now.
So I will have kind of a filler opportunity here. I'm really excited this year. at the end of the year. If you look at our system and all students and all families and all staff, we have all really been impacted by the closure of the economy, the closure of schools, the COVID pandemic. But within the last couple of months, you're starting to see lessening regulations around the COVID pandemic, and our school staff and community and parents have done a phenomenal job, because the one group that I have empathy for every family in our community, but the one group that I really worry about the most is our seniors. And kind of like, we all have been at that senior year of high school, and how that meant to us as a developing young adult, and what that meant to move into your next stage of life. And so I could not be more proud of our parents and the community and our school staff for stepping up to really provide great opportunities here at the end of the school year for our seniors. We are, and it's all coming at a rush, within about a 3-week period of time. But not only have we been able to open up athletics for our senior class, we've also been able to hold performances. This week we held a couple of orchestra performances, and tonight there's a band performance at the auditorium. But beyond that, things that we remember during the core day at a high school that maybe you attended, this week we were able to offer to our seniors class and all the classmen at the high school, but the seniors in particular, homecoming. And so all of our students at the high school had an opportunity to participate in homecoming activities. And you want to talk about, joy and seeing young adults happy again. It really brought smiles to adults' faces and to our students' faces for being able to carry out something that, we all have fond memories of. And, there's been a real key parent group that has helped us to design a senior gala that will happen, just before graduation. We're going to have the senior parade, or the graduation parade, both on the Lower Elwha tribal land as well as in town. We're going to have an in-person graduation. So really, I think, all the people, the parents, the community support, the staff, the students themselves, to really, pull the bootstraps up and give all of our students an opportunity to have a really nice send off into their young adult careers has been phenomenal. So, that's been, really important to the system and to our students, and for all those involved. I just want to make sure I indicate a public thank you for that. So, any other questions, Jenny?
Nope, nothing yet.
Okay, Michelle, do you have anything else that you would like to fill with?
Yes, I always have something to talk about. So I think I'll talk a little bit about our district navigators and that program, and moving forward into next year, how that will look. And then also talking about this year, we had our community engagement board, which was formerly the community truancy board. And so I can talk a little bit about both those things. So to start with, our district navigators have been incredible. And so our lead district navigator is Becca Larson. And she just has such a passion for helping all students and families in our community. She has an assistant now, Kelsey, who's been doing this work with her and now will be officially part of the team. And they are working, man, you never know where they're going to be every day, but they have regular meetings with each of the teams at every school. And these are teams generally where we're looking at students of concern. We've tried lots of different things. Maybe attendance isn't going well. Maybe, we know they're struggling with resources. So Becca and Kelsey will meet with each building's team and they talk about a kiddo, their needs, and right then they delegate who's going to do what, who's going to connect with the family, who's going to visit, what are those needs, do we need to bring in housing support for them? And they have been kept so busy. I hope at some point we can try to quantify the number of contacts that they've had. But we couldn't have done this year without them. And again, that, I just appreciate our school board seeing the importance of that and really being, again, a leader across our state and even nation and recognizing the importance in that role. As we get into next year, we're going to continue with that. We are also, Kelsey's going to start facilitating what was our community engagement board. It's now going to be called our CARES team. And so, when families are struggling, Kelsey will be able to reach out and find out more what's going on. And as they come to a CARES meeting, we will have a person there that can help facilitate the resources they need. So if they're talking to someone and they're struggling with housing, they're going to reach into their group in the community and have someone there right at that meeting. So we're not going to waste time. We're going to look at the needs. So I can't say enough about what they are doing, and they'll also be working in partnership. We have the North Olympic Healthcare Network that has put together a mobile health system that's able to meet needs of not only just the physical, typical medical needs, but also counseling and dental. And so it's a big, amazing motorhome outfitted with 3 offices. So that will be going school to school and have a set schedule. And so again, one of our navigator roles is, being able to connect families to that resource that's right there right now. And, on Monday it might be at Roosevelt, but on Friday it might be at the high school. So we're excited about that partnership to be able to do those sorts of things. Our CARES team that we're going to, we're switching the playbook a little bit on how we support students and parents with attendance. And we know there's all sorts of factors that go into attendance, and we want to help them. We don't need to just, keep on the hammer oh my gosh, you've missed 20 days of school. What's wrong? No, we're changing that message to be, attendance is definitely a concern. How can we help you? What do we need to know? And really making it a partnership. And again, as we said before, using compassion, using kindness, focusing on the student. So that's just a little bit about another couple things in our district.
Yeah, and I want to add a little bit to that. Thank you, Michelle, for bringing that up. The vision of the school board 2.5 years ago to add that navigator position, which, it's not funded by the state of Washington. It wasn't at the time. I think in the future it will be. But, it's pretty hard for a school board to make a decision to, we're not going to hire a teacher or a support staff. We're going to hire, somebody that can help families navigate and access services and provide mental and behavioral supports for students. So I really compliment our school board for having the vision and the foresight to do that, because that led to great things. That led to, we had a partnership with Known. They had a clinic up at the high school, but when our navigator came on board and started really demonstrating the need in our system, because now we had a person that could get students and families to appointments. The Known Clinic then started to have dialogue with us on how we can make this greater. And that led to, the mobile clinic that Michelle has referenced. So out of, a little idea, came a really big reward that is now an incredible partnership that we have with the Known Clinic. And in fact, they've stepped up with some private funding to help fund some of our navigators. So it is a great partnership. We're really excited for the future. And that's how, great work gets done, is a little idea and take a chance. And I'm very appreciative of our school board for doing that. So with that, Jenny, any questions that we have?
I don't have any questions or comments at this time.
Okay, well, I am,
Oh, wait, I got one.
okay.
It says anonymous, so I have to find out who it is. I can open up their mic.
Jenny, I think it's Amanda Sanders.
Oh, is it again? Okay. It's
Yep.
just saying. All right, go ahead, Amanda.
I'm so sorry. How long have we been doing this and I still can't use Zoom? Sorry about that.
You and me both.
I was just wondering when Seaview families might know what Seaview is going to look like in terms of maybe some extra enrichment classes being held at Lincoln Center.
Michelle, you want to try to answer that?
Yes. No. Hi, Amanda. Good to hear you and not see you, I guess. But yeah, so we're excited because what we are planning going forward is that we will be partnering Lincoln High School with Seaview and sharing resources. And one of the pieces that we heard loud and clear from parents this year with Seaview was how much they enjoyed those enrichment times or those extensions. And those are unique. I couldn't believe the numbers that we had turn out for that. So we are definitely incorporating that into the plan. That's gonna really what will separate us probably from other alternative programs, is that for those people who are here, we're going to be able to offer those in-person learning experiences to help keep students and families connected. Lincoln as well is, changing to meet needs as well, and they are looking at doing different, what they call mini weeks, where they'll be focused on a particular theme. In the beginning, they'll have a focus on community. All of our Seaview students will have that opportunity to be part of that. We'll be looking at different careers, projects. We just want to look for all the ways we could engage students, and what better way to have them with other students, be able to be with their teacher and really be engaged in a learning project that they get excited about. So, and with Seaview, we're just, finishing up figuring out who our staff will be. So we'll have that pretty soon. We're also super excited that we applied for an all district application for our school district to be able to accept anyone across the state of Washington into Seaview. And that was really a good year-long process of figuring everything out, but we qualified. Our team did great on the paperwork piece of it. And so what that will allow us to do as well is to enrich our community and those classrooms. And we already have like a student coming from Spokane, one from Everett, and I think there's a couple others. Because now, right, they can choose, they don't have to live right here in Port Angeles. So that could be and will be exciting for what we can offer that way. So we're learning and growing every day. And so as you have ideas, Amanda, definitely bring them down to Cindy, Crum, and or myself. But we're looking forward to a great year for CVU and Lincoln as well.
Very much so. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Amanda, for the question. All right, so if there are no further questions, I want to review next week. So next Friday, we will have as special guest speakers, Nathan Rodall, the orchestra director, and he's also the arts department chair for the high school in our district. Pam Helpenstahl will be out. She is a business education teacher. She also does the ASB leadership and yearbook advisory at the high school. They will come out next week to celebrate, one, what's this year look like for us? How have we been able to navigate, the COVID experience and still provide high quality opportunities for students? But even more important than that, what are we gearing up to be able to offer to our students next year? And so it will be a combination of celebration of what we've been able to carry out this year, but then more importantly, what do we foresee as opportunities for our students moving forward? So they will be out next week. I encourage you to come out if you have interest in either of those topics and or you have a burning question. This is the place. I want to make myself available to answer any and all questions that you have. Jenny, on my agenda, I need to bring back the answer to the question around forums that will be available for board member seats. We will make sure we bring that back as well. So appreciate you spending a little time with us this week. Please enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy, hopefully, the sun, stay safe, and show appreciation for those that sacrifice so much to make our country what it is today. So thank you so much, and we'll see you real soon. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.